Hello and happy holidays to you all. It is that time of year where everyone seems to have a sale on, including me, which I'll talk about a little bit later as well. But I thought it would be useful to talk through some of the things that I have in my studio and also use it in my business that happen to be on special offer these days over the cyber weekend. So let's just get straight on into it, shall we? One of the best tools that I ever invested in for my studio, and I've become somewhat attached to them. In fact, I've got a whole collection of them on my desk, is Stream Deck. And it's funny because it's called a Stream Deck. It is a streaming tool, and yet it is almost the ultimate productivity tool. And so, as a side benefit, if I didn't do any more video or anything like that, the Stream Deck would be the thing that would still remain on my desk because, as I say, it is just such a powerful tool to have for all sorts of automation use cases. We were just talking about automation in the backstage, actually. But in any case, Elgato are the makers of that, and of course, just like all tech companies, they have got their own Black Friday deals on. So as we go through this, I will drop the links in the chat. You can find them all down in the description as well. Having said that, is Elgato the one that I didn't add to my Stream Deck? What an irony that is. Hang on, let me see if I've got it somewhere. I'll just go and grab it from here, shall I? There we go. I'll just drop it in this way. I'll drop it in the old school way, the copy and paste way. Here we go. So on Black Friday, they have got, well, I suppose Cyber Weekend, they've got a number of different discounts. And if you are still haven't picked up a Stream Deck yet, this is an ideal opportunity because there is up to 20% off, or up to 30% off, sorry, on Stream Decks. And if you're wondering about which one to purchase, if you haven't bought one yet, I would always say start with the XL, obviously budget depending, but if you're interested in the opinion on from the usability point of view, I think the Stream Deck XL is by far the most practical one because just sheerly the sheer number of keys that you've got on there allows you to program so many more different actions. That said, there is something quite special about the Stream Deck Plus, which is that this one has these 4 dials on, and I'm assuming that everyone watching us understands what a Stream Deck is if they're watching my channel, but basically it is a programmable keyboard essentially, so you can add all sorts of different actions to these different buttons. You get multiple different pages of buttons and profiles. There's lots of tutorials on my channel and elsewhere as well, but for streaming, this is what I use for camera switching. So if I press a button on my Stream Deck, just down here, it will switch back to my main scene. I've got another button to press to come over to this one, and these are just down on the desk, so if I press this button, it's going to go back over to this main scene. So I use it for camera switching, but as I say, for productivity, you can have it open all of your different apps up, use it in conjunction with an app like Moom for window management, so it can put everything all in the right place on your screen, or use it with something like Keyboard Maestro, which is a productivity tool for the Mac, to just really give you a sort of ultimate productivity on your computer. So highly recommend checking out Stream Deck. There is more on the Elgato website though. Oh, and by the way, I've also got a couple of pedals on the floor. If you have never thought about the idea of having anything controlled with a pedal, it actually seems quite an odd thing to be thinking about, you know, controlling your computer with a pedal, but it is useful in a whole series of use cases. For example, if you've got both hands on the keyboard to just activate keyboard shortcuts, like as I say, from a productivity point of view, maybe you're doing video editing perhaps, and you've got one hand on a mouse and one on some sort of jog wheel or something like that to skip through the timeline. You could use it in there. I also use it in Zoom calls. If I'm not the sort of host of the Zoom call, but I'm in someone else's Zoom call, you know, having the button to press to unmute just to add something into the conversation, for example. There's lots of different use cases where you'd be surprised where it comes in exceptionally handy to be able to control things with your feet. So I've got 2 of these on the floor, 2 of the XLs on my desk, and then this one here, the Stream Deck Plus. If you've already got a Stream Deck XL, one of the things that you may have encountered is this thing of, you know, ultimately running out of buttons on a single display or a single set of buttons. And so you have to either have multiple pages and page between them, or you have different profiles for different use cases of the Stream Deck. The way that I use the Stream Deck Plus is this has these 8 buttons on here, and you've got multiple pages that you can access by swiping on this screen here to go to multiple pages. And so the way that I have set up is this Stream Deck is controlling what is on these 2 Stream Decks, and I can swipe back and forth to go to different setups. So if I press this one, for example, this is going to go to my screen layout thing. So this is basically controlling my computer screen layout with Moom to position windows and so on. And then pressing a button here, it's going to come back to the original profile on there as well. So using this one as a means to control your other Stream Decks is a really useful tool, because also you can set profiles on, let's say, your two pedals, in my case, my two Stream Deck XLs, and then with a push of a button on the Stream Deck Plus, it changes all four of those at the same time. So all of my recording buttons, all of my streaming buttons, or whatever the case may be. So highly recommended. It's a great time to jump in on Stream Deck, as I say, if you're not already there. I don't personally use their microphones, so I can't speak to those at all. But another piece of hardware that is really great, actually both of their mic arms, they've got the mic arm LP, which is the low profile arm, which I'm using here. So you can see how it comes from sort of behind the Rodecaster here. But the thing about it is it's a low profile because it's low to the desk. So that means that it's not sort of intruding on in my face in the shot. You know, you see people with big mics that are sort of hanging over the top of them. This keeps it kind of low, but it also means I can see over the top of it and reach underneath it as well. So the LP arm is absolutely great. They've just updated it as well with this one, the Wave Mic Arm Pro. The difference between this one is the original had a little screw to adjust the sort of angle of that second arm, whereas the Mic Arm Pro has got a sort of little gas strut in there that you can't particularly see, but it just means that it will stay exactly where it's put without having to tighten up that little clamp screw. This is also a great mic arm as well. I happen to have one of those over on the other side. So there's this thing that is coming in from just over here. If I take this off, you can't really see it completely, but the build quality of it, this is more of an over-under one. So I use this over on a different shot over on the side. But yeah, they're really solid mic arms, and they just feel like they're, you buy something like this, you're investing in something which is going to last you absolutely, years and years. So those are absolutely wonderful. There is the Elgato prompter, and I've got mixed views on the Elgato prompter. I do have one of those just sort of sitting over here out of shot. It's not my primary teleprompter. I do use it for a second camera angle, and really I don't particularly need to have this camera in the prompter, but I have it here for sort of demo purposes of it and whatever. The thing that is great about it is an all-in-one unit. So when you buy it, it's got this screen built into it, and then you just pop your camera in the back there and then plug it in with one cable, and so then technically you're getting the screen coming into your computer as an extra display, and then you can either have the output from your computer on it, which is kind of what I'm doing right now. If I show you my setup, I've got a different teleprompter here, but I'm seeing what you're seeing in there. So it means that when I'm recording or streaming, I'm watching the video output as it's going out, and my camera is Sony ZV-E10, which is just somewhere in the darkness there behind it. But that's the way that I've got things set up there. But this is a separate monitor and the separate teleprompter, which is this brand, which I can never quite know exactly how to pronounce, Ulanzi. But this is a 12-inch monitor, whereas the Elgato is a 9-inch monitor. I personally find that the Elgato is a little bit on the small side. I also find that one of the things that lets teleprompters down often is the glass in the front of it, and I don't think that they've potentially used either the best quality glass that they could have in the Elgato, or there's something different going on with the display that they've used, because there's been a lot of instances that I've seen firsthand with people in the Digital Stage Academy where they've had this weird sort of, it's almost like a cloudy look to their camera output. There's two issues you potentially get with teleprompters. One is that there's sort of a reflection off the monitor that's going to impact the image quality that's been put out as that you're capturing with your camera. The other one is potentially ghosting, which is because essentially what you're looking at, if we just go back to the teleprompter view, you can see how the camera is behind there. You've got this glass, which is at sort of 45-degree angle, and then you've got the monitor down there. And so you're looking at a reflection in the glass of the monitor down below. Now, because that glass has obviously got a certain thickness, sometimes what you can get is almost like a double image, where you see a slight ghosting of a repetition of the image on the screen. That doesn't happen with the Elgato prompter, and it doesn't happen with this one that I've got at the moment. But what you do get with the Elgato prompter sometimes in certain situations is this slight sort of misty, steamy look to your actual output image, which obviously isn't good. You don't want anything that's going to impact what's actually going out. Now, there is people who will say, well, just turn down the brightness on the monitor, but you do seem to have to turn it down a little bit further than would be reasonable in order to eliminate this in certain situations. Of the cases that I've seen, it does seem to happen more so with the Elgato Facecam Pro, funnily enough, which is one of the Elgato cameras you can use in it. So that being said, the Elgato prompter is still a good option for the price and the fact that it is, as I say, plug and play. You don't have to mess around with trying to find a compatible monitor and pair it with the teleprompter. But for me, I prefer something a little bit more professional, and because I'm staring at it day in, day out as well, something a bit larger as well. My original prompter was 7 inches, which was great for just one-to-one eye contact on a Zoom call. But as soon as you get more people on than that, you might like a bit more screen real estate. I'm hoping that at some point they bring out a prompter XL, which is more like 12 inches or something like that. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for that, and hopefully that image issue might be resolved by then. Face cams, I'm not personally using those. I've not tried those myself as well. And then this is kind of one of the go-tos for capturing your video if you've got some sort of DSLR camera or SLR camera, or mirrorless camera, I should say. Then this is the way to get the HDMI feed out from your camera and into your computer. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've got my Sony ZV-E10. There's an HDMI out that I'm then plugging into a cam link, and that basically takes the HDMI signal in, converts that into USB, and feeds into the computer. So this is a great opportunity to grab one of those. The lighting, there's these panel lights in Elgato, and we've had a number of discussions about that previously with a number of people, that if you're into the whole Elgato ecosystem, then these can be great because you can control them with Stream Deck. They just sort of plug in. It's all part of the system. But actually the pricing of them is a little bit on the high side compared to some other flat panel LED lights from people like Ulanzi and other manufacturers. So they're not necessarily the most cost effective ones, but you are then staying within the Elgato ecosystem, I guess. So those are an option as well. So that is Elgato. I've got a mixture really of things that I use in the studio and also then things that are more sort of business related. So I'm going to just sort of alternate between them. And really, I've built my entire business on Kajabi. And so I definitely need to mention that because they've got a 50% off the first year on Kajabi, which is really an amazing deal. So if I just come over to that, where has it gone? Let me try and copy my own link in here. That might help if I actually just click that link. Let's see where we're up to. Hey there, let me just come to this, Dr. Terry Fisher. Hey, great to see you. Which USB hub do I use? So I use the CalDigit Element hub. I will get you a link for that. And then I also have a Wavelink dock. So the difference between docks and hubs, by the way, is a hub is generally using where you've got USB into your computer, and then it's basically expanding that out to multiple other USB output inputs. With a dock, that is more taking multiple different types of input, like HDMI to go to your monitors or audio out and things like that, and sort of splitting those out. So in terms of the hub that I use, that is the CalDigit Element. I will show you that in a moment. If I get up Amazon, if we should have that. And by the way, speaking of the prompter, everyone says that the prompter should be plugged directly into your computer. I mean, Elgato obviously always say that because that's what manufacturers say. They don't want it going into a hub. But even all the reviewers said it. No, this one is one that definitely does have to go into your computer. Well, I've got my Elgato prompter. I've got my Rodecaster Pro 2. 2 USB channels, and until recently I also had 3 Stream Decks all plugged into the CalDigit Element hub without any issue. So yeah, I think that it's not necessarily the case that you have to plug it into there. And in fact, also on my prompter, the Elgato prompter, as long as you use a 20 megabit per second cable, I've actually got this on a 5-meter extension, so it can literally go over to the other side of the room. And that's a 5-meter USB-C extension that I purchased, and then that plugs into the CalDigit Element hub. So let me just bring this one up for you. I'll show you what it looks like. It is this one, CalDigit Element hub. And if I just get the link for that, and I'll drop that into the chat. that is that one, and that's basically got 4 USB A's on it and 3 USB C's on the other side. So I've had those USB C's are basically the 2 for the Rodecaster Pro 2, 1 for the Elgato prompter, and then this was basically 3 Stream Decks plugged into 3 of those, and then something else into that one. I can't remember what. It is a powered hub though. That's the crucial thing. Making sure that if you're getting a hub, it's got plenty of power to power it. So that is that. Let me bring up Kajabi though. Kajabi is, as I say, it's the platform that I use for hosting all of my courses on. It's where my website is hosted. It's a really great all-in one package that can do pretty much everything. That said, I have just recently migrated my email management out to ConvertKit, or what's now called Kit. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But yeah, Kajabi is just really great. It also offers you the ability to create an affiliate program, depending on the tier that you're on, in fact. So like, for example, I've got Take One Tech affiliates where you can get 30% for referring people to my courses. And what I've actually done with my affiliate program, I'm going to have a much more of a big sort of push for this as we get into the end of the year and into the new year, but making it easier for affiliates to refer people to my free content. Like, for example, I've got a free Ecamm Live Masterclass. Well, that's something that affiliates can refer people to, and obviously there's no commission paid on a free product, but they get tagged, obviously, that's where those potential new students, new clients, new customers have come from, and so when they go on to buy something else from the upsells that you'll find throughout the course and through email and stuff like that, then those people that are referring people will still get the credit for that. So anyway, that's a bit of a side thing, but yeah, this Kajabi offer is really great, 50% off for 12 months. Yeah, it's a really great opportunity if you are looking to create a course or you've got something to sell or educate people on. Then it's a great place to do that. It is definitely an education platform first and foremost. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this if you're just looking for a website hosting platform. That's not what it's for. It is definitely an educational, education hosting platform for hosting your courses. But it's the fact that it does everything all in one makes it really quite a good price for what it does. So, for example, the growth plan, which happens to be the one that I'm on, I'm paying $199 a month or $197 or something. But here you can get that for $99 a month for the first year. And it's also where I'm hosting the community. So we've got in the academy, we've got the Digital Stage Network, which is our community. So like right now, if I go over to here, this is what the community looks like that I've created in Kajabi that is for our Academy members, or people can just join this as well. But it gives you these different channels that you can assign and create basically what you want in here. But this is all Kajabi as well. Technically, you can host podcasts in Kajabi, although I would recommend something like Captivate actually as a more robust podcast hosting platform. But if you want, Kajabi has got it sort of all in one place. So that's Kajabi. Highly recommend it. As I say, if you are looking for to get into Kajabi, there's never a better time because it's at 50% off. Let's have a look at this comment here, because I've got something interesting about the Mac Mini. Joe, first of all, hello, Joanne. Bought a new iPad. Oh, a new iPad Mini. Any suggestion for content creators to add to it? I teach both remote and hands-on classes and virtual StreamYard Zoom sessions. Camera plugged into a computer via Camlink. If you are using the iPad Mini, you may already have this, so forgive me if you have. But there is a great app. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I've not even got my iPad plugged in, and my son's cracked his screen on his iPad, so he's been using mine. So mine's got little grubby fingers all over it as well, which is always the issue when you give your iPad to a 5-year-old, which is why I keep a little screen wipe, an Ecamm branded screen wipe, no less, in my bag at all times to wipe little fingerprints off it. But if you are using an iPad with your computer and with Ecamm, or in fact without, I would highly recommend Video Pencil. Let's have a look. So let me bring this up. Oh, you got nothing but a new iPad Mini. Oh, okay. Let's bring this up though to show you. Hopefully. Let's have a look. I'm going to try and just do this now. Video Pencil. Because what Video Pencil allows you to do, and of course I've not got it ready, and so the demo's are not going to work, but let's try this. Yep. So what Video Pencil allows you to do, and I know that I see your message that you've got nothing but the new iPad mini. What Video Pencil allows you to do is write on your screen, and typically, because I'm demoing it, it's not quite working, but normally you see the output from your screen from Ecamm or from your computer or from your camera on the iPad. And it means that you can do it with either your finger or with a pencil, an Apple Pencil. You can now basically just sort of draw on the screen. So it's really great for in meetings. I do have a scene set up specifically for this, which gives me a little whiteboard space. If I want to draw like a little flow diagram or something like that during a meeting, I can do that. I'll do it with a bit more intention and thought if I was actually in a proper meeting. But yeah, that is a great tool if you have got an iPad mini, is to have Video Pencil to use with your computer. You can use it with Ecamm, as I say, but you can just use it with your regular webcam, and there's an app that sits on your computer. So it means that if you're in a Zoom meeting, for example, you basically pass your camera virtually, and it's all wireless, through Video Pencil, and then it goes back into Zoom as the Video Pencil virtual camera. And what that means is that you can just write on your screen. So it's really great for that. It's useful if you're just doing a screen share as well in Zoom or in whatever, and you want to highlight something on the screen. Useful for that as well. If you are using an iPad mini and are looking to actually create content with it, one thing to note is that you can use USB cameras now, which means you can also use a cam link, which was that device I showed for connecting a proper camera to it. And so yeah, you can plug that into the iPad mini, and then you can essentially have a proper camera going in. Another thing that's I've been just testing is these. It's the new Rode Wireless Micro. So if you're looking for for content creation on the iPad mini, then these are great little wireless mics. If you're familiar with the Rode Wireless Go's and the Rode Wireless series of mics, they are considerably bigger. So this is the box for the where is it gone now? This is the box for the Rode Wireless Pro, and this is by comparison the box for the Rode Wireless Micro. These ones I never used to carry around with me everywhere because they're just, it's a big box, and I like to travel sort of light. But this has basically got two microphones. Sorry, let me get that so it focuses. Two microphones and two receivers. And if I, two microphones and a receiver. And these are the ones that you've likely seen lots of people using that just sort of clip onto your top or whatever. Well, this is the Rode Wireless Micro by contrast. This bit in the middle is the receiver, and it's just like a little bar, so it fits into a phone or indeed into an iPad mini. And then you've got these two microphones, which are sort of teeny tiny compared to the originals. They're less than half the size, and they just sort of clip onto a top or clip on somewhere like that. So in terms of these going out, these just really slip into my bag that I carry everywhere, but then they can just pop into the bottom of a phone, for example. So just sticking it in like that, now you've got a wireless connection to your phone. So something like that is useful. As I go through rattling away, and then I see you've actually already got the wireless too. So that's a great thing then that you can use with the iPad mini as well. You can just plug those directly into that. In fact, while we're talking about these sorts of things, let's move on from Kajabi. I'll just bring up the next one because this is another company that is kind of related to all of this stuff, which is Ugreen. So let me just drop the link to this in the chat. All of my cables are Ugreen cables, and they're also what I use for power supplies and things like, it's all the little fittings and attachments and things like that that you get in the studio that are maybe not the things that people see, like the cameras and so on. So for example, I've got one of these power supplies, a 300 watt power supply sitting on my desk. That is just purely powering, things that require power for charging and so on. So they're great for that. This is down from 269 to 135, so pretty much half price. There is, let's have a look. There is this one here as well. I think that's the one that I use for my, no, I've got 100 watt that I use for my laptop. And it's basically just in my bag in place of the Mac. Oh, let me go to the Black Friday sale. That would be a good place to start, wouldn't it? They've also got these things that if you spend over a certain amount on Black Friday, then if you spend over $99, you get this SATA drive. If you spend over $249, you get this cute little charger. My daughter's got one of these, actually. The little eyes light up when it's charging, and they shut when it's fully charged. It's kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, so they got these offers on Black Friday that if you buy over a certain amount, then you get these as a bonus. But just coming down here, this is a sort of magnetic battery pack that goes on the back of your phone, 35% off. Let's have a look at these power supplies. So these are the ones that I use. There's this one here, which is the one that I've got on my desk. As I say, 300 watts. And then you've also got the Ugreen 100 watt USB-C charger. And so this one is the one that I have in my bag when I go out with my laptop, because I can plug my laptop into it and then charge other things as well. Let's see what else they've got in here. They've got this one, which is a little travel charger, which you can use to charge your earpods and your phone as well, and maybe your watch. I'm not sure. I've got a Ugreen one of those on my desk. It's not quite that one actually, but this is the one that I have on my desk. So this is Ugreen, and I charge my my earpods on there, and then also the phone obviously just clips onto that. So yeah, Ugreen is as I say, all of the cables in my office are Ugreen cables, and then it is these other things for like power. I've got a load of these ones as well. I say a load. I've got about 6 of them that are powering things like my my lights on the back wall, for example. So you can plug 3 different things in, so that can power those type of things. There's one for this light here, which is Julian. What is it? 20 watt light. So you need to make sure that if you've got a light that's a higher wattage, that you've got a charger that can power it, or a power supply that can power it. So they're great for things like this. I've got a Ulanzi 40 watt light that's plugged into one of these Ugreen bricks as well. Obviously the light fittings normally come with their own brick, but if you're going to plug multiple in at the same time, then it's good to just have a single brick into the wall that can power all of those things. So yeah, it's Ugreen is a great place to go and check out for, as I say, cables and all sorts. They have also just introduced, now I haven't tested one of these, but it's been on my my radar for a while, is to get a NAS, a network attached storage. And the go-to was always Synology. That's the one that's, is the kind of like the industry standard. But from what I've heard and from what I've seen firsthand with people going through the setup process, Synologies can be a little bit quirky in terms of their setup and operation. Potentially fine once they're all up and running, but I know folks that have had a few issues with that. Ugreen have just introduced their whole NAS series, so I think that I'm going to bite the bullet at some point and try one of these out. Obviously, for all of you, I'm doing it for the benefit of viewers, not because I've got so much stuff that needs sorting out, of course. But they've got a whole range of them. But from what I've seen from the reviews and what I've seen of the software, it does just look like a really manageable way to organize all of your files and things like that, in terms of like the organization and making things available. What I get from Synology is, because they've been around for such a long time and they've got a lot of hangovers from potential legacy systems, that sometimes when you see an older company that's doing things, they're still doing things in a slightly older way, where they've got to hang on to some of these legacy integrations and things like that. So it doesn't necessarily make for the absolute best user experience. Whereas it really feels, with what I've seen of these, not tested them firsthand, but what I've seen of these in terms of the operation, that they've started from the ground up and built something that's just a really great user experience. So I'll be trying one of these out at some point. I'm not biting the bullet on Black Friday though. I've got too many other things on the list. So yeah, that is Ugreen, a great one to check out. I'll leave you to explore all of the other things on there. Let me just check in with this question again. So, silly question. If I am showing a Keynote or PowerPoint in class, can I use an app on iPad mini to view my PowerPoint and turn pages? I think you can do that, actually. I think you can do a remote I've never done it, but I think that if you open Keynote on your iPad, well, certainly if you open Keynote on your iPad, you can send that out to your computer from there if you were using Ecamm or something like that. But there is a way, I think, on Keynote that you can use that as a remote viewer. At the very least, you could set your iPad Mini up as use the extended desktop feature. So on the Mac, when you've got an iPad Mini plugged in, you can set it to be basically an extra display. So if I go over to here, let me just move a couple of these other windows out of the way, show you. Let's put this, where has it gone now? I'll put this over here. So if I go to displays, so if you go into displays here, then you'll see that you get the option when your iPad Mini is connected, you can click iPad Mini to make it an extra display on your computer. And you can choose to either mirror an existing display, or you can just have it as basically acting like a monitor. So I have done that in the past where I've just had it so that the iPad Mini then becomes just an extension of the computer. So in that sense, you could certainly do it like that, where you just have your speaker notes and things like that on the iPad itself. That would be one approach to take with that. If you're using a smart TV, then in the iPad Mini, yes, you can run your iPad and then have it send out the slides using AirPlay to the smart TV, and then you could just run that from the iPad Mini. Then, from the iPad Mini in Keynote. So there we go. So let's just keep going then as I go through some other things that I've got on my list. And another one, I mentioned that I've recently moved my email over from Kajabi to Kit. And although Kajabi does a great job with email, there was a couple of features that were lacking with it, or rather a couple of features that Kit offered that I really saw the value in. So Kit is what was previously called ConvertKit. So you've probably heard a lot of people talk about ConvertKit. They recently changed their name just to Kit, and it's just the email management. So that's what I use for all of my my emails that you'll see going out. Apart from fulfillment emails, like if you sign up for a course, it'll say access your course here or whatever. That's still done through Kajabi. But any promotional marketing emails or my weekly newsletter, that all is done with ConvertKit. A couple of the standout features that I really like about it. One of them, in fact, one of the reasons why I first looked at it is I was doing a big sort of overhaul of everything in my business earlier on this year, because I had gone through and created lots of courses, but then there were lots of landing pages, lots of forms, lots of tags that I'd tagged people with. And I wanted to sort of tidy it all up and get a really large, high level picture of everything that was going on in the business in terms of the flows. Because honestly, I'd sort of built these things up over, a series of months or whatever. And it was only when I was, wanting to put a little bit more organization into it that I realized that there's not necessarily the consistency with tagging, naming conventions of forms and all of those kind of things. So I wanted a way to sort of map everything out. And then it was a case of thinking a little bit more, being a bit more intentional about how I interact with people once they, for example, download a PDF from the website, one of the free resources, or when they sign up to a course, or when they download one of the Stream Deck icon packs. I wanted to be more intentional about email sequencing and things like that, because that's something that I hadn't really done a great job of in the past, and I'm still working on it right now. But what I wanted to do was create these little flow diagrams so I can say, right, well, if somebody comes into my database, for example, they've downloaded a Stream Deck icon pack, I want to then maybe tag them with something, and then I want to send them to, this email sequence. And so I was looking for a way to just sort of map those things out visually. And I came across the fact that, although I'd heard of ConvertKit, the fact that ConvertKit has this built in. They have what they call, what do they call them? These ones here, visual automation. So these are some old ones which are not actually active at the moment, but it's these sort of flow diagrams. So for example, this is my old Academy flow diagram here. But when people come in, if they come in at a different tier of the Academy, it's going to tag them with different things, and then it's going to send them through and maybe a group tag. Then if they are rejoining, so they've got the alumni tag, it sends them down one path. Whereas if they are completely new to the Academy, then it sends them down to another. And so this visual automation was something that was really appealing to me with ConvertKit. The other thing that they do in their emails, which is really interesting, is let's say, for example, you are sending out an email, and as part of your email newsletter, you want to promote, in my case, maybe the Stream Deck Masterclass, for example. You can have blocks of text and blocks in the email that are dynamically presented to different people. So, for example, if somebody's already got the Stream Deck Masterclass, for example, there's no need for it to present them with that little promotion within the email because they've already got it. So this ability that you've got to dynamically replace content in emails is something that's really interesting. If you have segmented your audience, and let's say for me, for example, there are people who are maybe working in the real estate industry. There are people who are fitness coaches doing online coaching. There are these different groupings of people. And if I've got those people segmented in my audience in ConvertKit, what I can do is I can put different intros to the email. So if I was launching a new course all about how to look better in your online coaching calls or online Zoom meetings, then maybe for the people who I know are in the real estate industry, the intro could be, this new course is going to change the way you run your real estate operation, or this is going to change the way you run your online sports coaching business. And so you can dynamically replace those depending on the audience. So there's lots of tools like that in ConvertKit, which make it just really interesting as a tool for email management and getting better at doing email. And so that was the reason why I shifted from Kajabi's built-in email to ConvertKit. And you can get a discount on that right now on the annual plans of the creator plan. It's based on how many subscribers you've got. So as you increase the number of subscribers, the cost of that will sort of increase relative to that. It's like around about, I think mine was 10,000 subscribers that I signed up to originally, and that was like $110 a month or something like that. But it starts at a lower cost depending on where you are with your number of subscribers. So highly recommend ConvertKit if you're looking for better email management. I've mentioned my courses there, obviously because they're in. I've talked about ConvertKit and also Kajabi. I am offering a discount on all of my courses, so there is 40% off on all of my courses and indeed my icon packs as well. So you can get that through Cyber Monday with the offer code CYBER24. And by the way, the Ecamm Masterclass, in case you missed the the multiple notices, that is completely free. It's free now and will always be free. If you want to learn how to use Ecamm Live, this is the absolute go-to because it's a complete masterclass covering everything that you need to know. It starts off with some quick start guides to get you up to speed, and then we've got in-depth sections on all of the other aspects of Ecamm. So that is the Ecamm Masterclass, free forever. But then there are also courses on Rodecaster, Stream Deck, Keynote, and the latest one that was added was the outsourcing masterclass. That has been a real game changer in my business to start using virtual assistants to really take off some of those low revenue generating tasks, but that are essential and take up a lot of time. So if you're looking to sort of scale your business, you don't have to think that you're going to take on a full team of employing a full workforce. This can really start very small, just taking on one or two people, maybe just for an hour or two a week. And it's amazing what that does, where it is going to sort of free up, if you've got an extra hour a week that you can focus on the big picture stuff instead of responding to emails, updating databases and things like that. It's amazing how much extra progress you get just by freeing up a little bit of time. And as I say, you don't have to go all into it. You can do it incrementally. And that's what's covered in the outsourcing masterclass. It does also include the Stream Deck icon pack. So if you go over to my website, you'll see on the resources, I've got icon packs for Stream Deck. And there was a question that just came in. So these are all the Stream Deck icon packs. By the way, you get all of the icon packs if you sign up for the Stream Deck Masterclass, which of course is 40% off as well. But some of these Stream Deck icon packs are just the icons. So for example, Ecamm Live, because everyone's use case of Ecamm is different. So it's just a collection of icons for you to use in your Ecamm setup. So for example, all of these are the sort of icons that you're going to get. There's a lot more in it than that because I've created icons for all sorts of things, but these are just the ones that I'm currently using on this particular Stream Deck. Then there are other icon packs, like for example, the Keynote icon pack and YouTube icon pack, which are reliant, I mean, you get the icons as well, but they're also reliant on automation using Keyboard Maestro. And just to come over, thank you for asking, Terry, about that. Yes, they do include the Keyboard Maestro macros. So in the case of the YouTube player icon pack, for example, what that is, I am somebody who, as well as making YouTube videos, I also study at the University of YouTube myself. And what often happens is I'll be watching a video and I'm trying to learn from it and implement it at the same time and do whatever's being talked about in the video. And so I'm wanting to sort of stop, start, rewind, skip, and all those kind of things in YouTube. And so what I've done is I've created an icon pack that basically controls the YouTube browser, let me rephrase that. It activates the keyboard shortcuts for YouTube to do all of these things in the browser, even if the browser isn't the most active application or isn't the active application. So I can be working in one thing, but I can still control YouTube, play, pause, start, stop, skip, and all those kind of things in with the Stream Deck, and it's using Keyboard Maestro. And so this icon pack includes the profile for Stream Deck. It includes the macro group for Keyboard Maestro for both Chrome and Safari, and then it also includes just the actual icons themselves if you want to just use them for other purposes or build something out yourself as well. So to answer your question, Terry, yes, indeed, it includes the Keyboard Maestro macros, and also there is a video associated with each of these. So when you purchase them, then you'll get a link to that video to explain a little bit more about how to use them as well. Incidentally, there's this one here which is free, and what that is, just to show you, is on the Stream Deck Plus you have these little sort of positions here. If I go to a blank one like here, you've got this thing here where it shows you the information associated with that particular dial, and so I wanted a way to just make that a little bit more sort of pretty and make the thing stand out. So I created these little borders, which are basically just images that go on the background, but they help the title to pop out and then the actual action itself down below. So that's what those are, in case you're wondering what those are. And there's a whole load of them in different colors in the background. So 60 different color variations of those things if you want to just add a bit more clarity to your Stream Deck Plus. Anyway, that is the icon packs and the courses. As I say, you can find all of the links to those down in the description as well. But there is 40% off through to Monday. So just to come back to that question, the Ecamm icon pack doesn't include the macros, because actually all of the Ecamm icons are for things that you're going to be controlling with the Ecamm plugin itself. So in Ecamm, obviously, when you go to the Ecamm plugin on Stream Deck, if we just do that, if I come over to here, just come back out of this one a second. So if I show you this, get it in a clear spot on my screen. This is the Stream Deck profile for my XL1. And these are basically all changing scenes to different camera angles. These ones are all sharing different portions of the screen. So I have a large monitor and I just share either the top left, top middle, top right, or bottom left, bottom middle, bottom right, and so on. These ones are for skipping forward and backward in Keynote and various different things. These are relating to overlays. So I've got all of these different things that I personally use, but they're all essentially using, if you look in the Ecamm plugin, they're all using these different icons here. The different actions, I should say, here. I've just replaced them with icons that make more sense to me, because obviously there is just one button here that says run scene. It doesn't really necessarily easily tell you which scene it is. I know you get a little preview, but it's not really that useful. So all of these ones here are basically using that action. I've just got this particular icon for that. And so I've just changed the icons. The reason why I haven't created a dedicated profile for Ecamm is because everyone's Ecamm usage is different. And when you install Ecamm, it will put on, I think I've probably deleted it, but it does put on a just a general Ecamm profile for you. But it seems pointless to me because, as I say, everyone's use case is going to be different. So the best way forward with Ecamm is to always just start with a blank canvas on the Stream Deck and just think, well, what scenes do I want? What scenes do I want to control with it? How does that link in with other things? So, for example, I control Ecamm, but I also want my Keynote controls on the same screen as well. So that's why with that one in particular, there's no Stream Deck profile as such. It is just the icon pack that you can then use to apply to whatever you've got set up for your particular use case. So that is that. If we go over to another company whose stuff I use all the time, but isn't necessarily one of those ones that that gets talked about as much because it's not the microphones, the things like that. And it is a company called Ulanzi. I use, again, if I use all of the Ugreen for my cables, any little fixtures or fittings like quick release things like that, these are all Ulanzi. This is a recent one that I've bought. And by the way, there's certain companies that send me stuff like Rode. I've been very grateful to receive a lot of their things for testing. Ulanzi, I just buy all their stuff anyway. I would buy all Rode stuff anyway if they didn't send it to me. But Ulanzi is just, in fact, the very first video lights, which are now repurposed somewhere. Where are they? They're just in the background. There's one shining on that little clapperboard. There's a little tiny light there, and that's a Ulanzi VL49, a little tiny pocket light. That was the first video light I bought for the studio before I was in here. So I've always used their stuff, their little attachments, little quick release clamps. This is a great one that I bought for the DJI Osmo Pocket, which is this little pocket camera for sort of vlogging and whatever. I don't do that much of that on the channel, but I use it more for just sort of family and things like that. I will probably start to do a little bit more of this kind of content at some point, but as yet haven't. But one thing I found with it is if you're sort of standing vlogging with it in front of you, it's fine. But when I'm kind of following the kids around or whatever, my kids, that sounded a bit creepy, then I tend to have it like sort of drop down because I'm not really looking at the screen. I'm looking at what they're doing. And so I tended to point it sort of forward, and then you lose a little bit of the action of the gimbal in there. And then also inevitably, at some point one of the kids will fall over or something like that, or knock something over. And so I've got to go and go to the rescue. Well, this is a great little camera handle because although it looks ridiculous with this on it because it's pretty massive compared to it, this will be then upright, so I can still hold this like out in front of me, but the camera itself, the Osmo Pocket 3, will be upright. But the sort of neat trick that this has got is that there's this little catch on the top here, and when you do that, these legs fold out. So it's really great if you are sort of out and about doing stuff, and then you want to just be able to press a button and then sit the thing down. And obviously you could just use that if you're actually having it on a desk or mounted or whatever. So these are the kind of things that I've got from Ugreen. There was this light that I just showed you earlier. This is the Zhuyin light, the 20 watt, but I'll show you this from Ulanzi, I should say. Is this? It's like the longest extendable pole, which is actually for a light. The light that I've got over the back of me is also a Ulanzi light, but this goes to about 2 meters, and it's a tripod. So it's actually a great travel tripod. If you want something at a pinch for like a main camera, this is a great thing because it folds a lot smaller than regular camera tripods. But if you've got a lightweight tripod, a lightweight camera, or even the Sony ZV-E10 or something like that, this is a great option because it is really really tiny, but it extends up to, as I say, it extends up to 2 meters because it's intended originally for a light. So it comes with one of the Ulanzi lights. Ulanzi is a really innovative company that are doing some great things. Somebody mentioned, Joanne mentioned the iPad Mini, and I got confused for a minute there about the Mac Mini, which has just come out. I'll show you something that Ulanzi have done though, because one thing they're great at is jumping on things really quickly. And there was somebody who 3D printed a case for the Mac Mini that looked like looked like the Mac Pro. And very quickly, Ulanzi have jumped on that and said that they're going to actually make a production one. So if you've got a new Mac Mini, and one of the issues with the new Mac Mini for some is the fact that the power button is on the bottom. Well, this now mounts it sideways so that you can easily access that power button. But I just thought that is like the cutest thing to have a little mini Mac Pro on your desk. So this one is going to go into production at some point. Apparently, it isn't quite there yet. But I thought that was really genius from Ulanzi. But let's get back to what they have actually got at the moment. The one little blemish on their reputation in my book is that recently they introduced, and I'm sorry I keep going on about this every time I mention Ulanzi, I've got to just sort of mention, they recently brought out the Ulanzi Stream Deck. And I just think that that is such a lame, a lame thing to do in terms of just literally calling it a Stream Deck. It actually looks like a Stream Deck as well. And their promotion for it was the new Ulanzi Stream Deck, the best Stream Deck. Well, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I don't know quite the meeting that went down in Ulanzi headquarters where they thought, what should we call it? Let's call it a Stream Deck. It just seems a little bit off, that is. But anyway, I'll move on from that. I should get over it, really. I keep mentioning it, but here is the rest of their stuff. They've got lots of tripods here, so there's discounts on those. These are the lights, by the way, that I've got a couple of these, and this is the one that I normally have on that big tripod that I told you about. They are a really innovative company, though, and they're coming out with some really interesting products. There's a couple on here that I am going to get. One of them is this one, which is a really great travel solution for a light, because it's an inflatable light, so it's got LEDs in it. But the thing about it is, I mean, that one's obviously showing that it's bent. By the way, I should drop the link to Ulanzi in the chat as well. But the point about this is these things just literally roll up, so they're about a couple of foot long or something like that. But then when you're not using them, they deflate, and as you can see, that's just sort of inflated. Hopefully, you can see that. I'm hoping it's going to show you what it looks like when it's rolled up, because yeah, there you go. It just fits in a pocket. I thought that's a really novel idea, because ultimately with the light, the reason why we have these big, boxes up here, just sort of out of shot, is because it gives you the a much greater surface area, and so you get a much more diffused light, and so it's a much softer light, so it looks it gives a better effect than having a really harsh sort of point light. And so what this does is it's still something that's small and portable, but it's just got that that large surface area when it is inflated. Now this one is showing in this picture, you maybe can't see that, they do have a fan, which is like a handheld fan for blowing dust off equipment, electrical equipment and things like that, and you can use that in here to inflate it. But they've got another model of inflatable light, which looks really interesting, which I did see was also on the Black Friday deal, which is this one here. And this is basically like it's big brother or sister, and it is like huge. So let's see if we've got a better picture of this. And there you go, you see the size of it there. And so as a portable option, and this one I understand has got the fan sort of built into it. So basically, it's powered obviously by the battery that's in it. You just switch it on, it inflates, and then then they've got this one here, which is the short one, and this is the huge one that I was talking about. Really innovative idea, I think, to be able to have something that is a really large light source, but then packs down into something that's considerably smaller for transportation. So yeah, this is the one that will inflate, and you just release to deflate as well. Lots of good things. What else have I got from Ulanzi that's worth recommending? I haven't tried these ones myself, but as I say, I will do and report back with what I find. If you have got the DJI Osmo Pocket, I did get one of these from them as well, which is this cage. The funny thing about this is the reason why I bought this cage was actually to mount my Rode Wireless Pros to it, because what this does, and by the way, all the Ulanzi stuff, all of the metal hardware is just so well built. Everything has got like a really nice sort of clunk to it when it clicks together. It's all just really precision made stuff. But this one is for the DJI Osmo, and this will just fit over the front of it here somewhere. Let me do this, and it gives you basically a really solid cage, and it's also then. So it's a really solid cage to it. It gives you a cold shoe mounting point on the side, and then it's also got these little sort of metal fold out things here. So if you're familiar with like the classic action cam way of mounting things, well, this has got that sort of just sort of built in, but I like the way that it folds out. This is kind of like classic innovation from Ulanzi, that when these things are folded out, they look like that, like the traditional sort of mounting point. So if you've got existing hardware, it will mount to that. But then they've simply just got a magnet. So when those fold in, they sort of fold in and snap in just like that and stay out of the way. It's then got a 1/4-20 on the back for mounting. So if you want to mount it to something like that, you can do. So originally, the reason why I got this extra cage was just to give me some other mounting options for the DJI Osmo. But yeah, just great hardware all around from Ulanzi whenever they come out with stuff. I'll eventually get over them calling the Stream Deck, but there we go. Let's take another look at what else they've got in here. Whoopsie daisy, not that one. There's a few other things. Oh, cages as well, actually. So I've got a cage on my Sony ZV-1 and ZV-E10, which give few more mounting options as well. So they're really great, great cages. This is I've got one of those actually. I forget how many of their things I've got. This is a cooling fan for the Sony series of, well, actually for a number of cameras. But if you have any issues with your Sony ZV-E10, for example, overheating, then this is a solution for that. It's a little fan that sort of clips onto the back. Any of their tripods you're going to do well with. They're all really good. This is that a tripod that I was talking about. So this is the really long one, and I mean it's showing £29 there. I'm not sure why it's gone to UK pricing, but basically £29 for a 2 meter tripod, and it's really sturdy, really well built. It's a great price considering I've got other tripods. I've got other Ulanzi ones that cost me 150 or something like that. So this is a really great travel option actually. And then this one here is another one that I have got a few of, which is these ones, which are the little baby brother or sister. So there's the large one, and then there's this one here. And this one has a sort of cold shoe on the side of it, as you can see, and a little ball head. And so using these for either like a sort of desktop thing, you could use it for if you were doing more of like a selfie type thing as well. But the actual reason I purchased these was I had a couple of them, and then these lights that I've got behind me on the back there, I would have those on these if I was traveling, stick them in a hotel on a desk to get a bit better light in Zoom. That was my motivation for buying those originally. So yeah, and what else have I got from Ulanzi? I don't know that is actually this one here. Let's see, but another one that I just have been using all the time just recently. It isn't actually this one, but it is this, which is, first of all, this is like a little carabiner, so you can clip it onto something, but it is a fold-out tripod for a phone. So the phone just sticks onto the magnet on the back there. This folds out, so you can either use that to sort of hold the phone. So if you are doing vlogging or whatever with your phone, it acts as a handle. But then also this folds out to a sort of tripod like this, so you can stick it on a desk or whatever, just like that. I always have to cover my eyes for you to be able to actually see the thing that I'm trying to show. So let me try and cover my eyes up a little bit so there you can see that sits like that. But you can also just sort of fold these out and make it much higher as well. So that then becomes a tripod that sits on a desk like that. So this one is really slim. I could clip it onto something, but it just actually fits in my bag. So I carry that one around with me all the time. So if I need to put my phone up like on a desk or on a table or whatever, that is generally what I'm using to do that. So definitely recommend going and checking out the Ulanzi store. I've never bought anything from there that I felt like, oh, that's a little bit disappointing. So it's always been good and lived up to expectations. And the iPad Mini, to answer your question, Joanne, the iPad Mini would attach as well. So the iPad Mini, I don't think has got the MagSafe thing in the same way. If you're talking about that magnetic stand there, this one has got like an expansion thing. I was just looking because I've got another Ulanzi stand somewhere, which is an iPad Mini stand. It's a desk stand actually, but it's not portable. So, but yeah, something like this, depending on how wide that opens, that would probably be a bit small for an iPad in any case. So maybe not for that one. If you go over to here, I can show you. If we go to mobile, where is it gone? Phone tripods. Let's see. If I go to iPad, I had a desk stand which I bought from here, which I can't just see. But there are some desk stands, but as I say, they're not portable though in any case. But yeah, this one in particular wouldn't necessarily work for iPad because iPad doesn't have a magnetic connector on the back. I'm pretty sure of it. So, but yeah, those are great options. Another thing then coming on to to other tools that I use, and just going away from the hardware again, would be TubeBuddy. And we always have to mention that one, or at least I always do, because if I go to the right scene, this one, 50% off. And what TubeBuddy is if you are a YouTube creator and you are well, if you're doing anything in YouTube Studio, you'll know that there are lots of different things that are required of you as you are uploading a video, for example. Well, TubeBuddy helps you with all of the upload process, but it helps you with lots of other things as well. As you can tell, I'm just talking as I try and get it actually queued up to be able to show you. If I go over to my YouTube Studio dashboard, though, what you'll see is TubeBuddy has all these different things that are within the YouTube Studio. So it's kind of like embedded in at quite a deep level. Like if I go through to my content, for example, then you'll see that there are these different tools from TubeBuddy in here. So we can do things like find and replace. So if you are running a special offer and you want to just drop a bit of text into all of your videos, then you can do that with TubeBuddy. Just say, yeah, I want to insert this into every video, for example. Whereas what you might also want to do is put a thumbnail overlay. So you can actually have a semi-transparent, maybe just a strip along the bottom, Black Friday deal, 20% off or 40% off or whatever it is. Maybe I should have done that on all my videos. I didn't do it this year. But you can just apply that as an overlay onto your existing videos and then remove it afterwards. It also has a load of other tools though, like for example, Keyword Explorer. So if you're looking for the title for your video, like, I don't know, 100 ways to be more productive with Stream Deck. That would be a long video. Maybe I should say 10 ways. So let's try that. Let me just change that. 10 ways to be more productive with Stream Deck. What it's going to do is it's going to give you a result in terms of how that is as a title. Maybe I should make that video. It's telling me that's 100 out of 100. Excellent. And then it's giving you some metrics there in terms of like the search volume for those types of things, what the competition is doing and so on. And you can also go to the results section and you can see other people who have made videos along those lines, and you can see what those are in terms of the title and the thumbnail and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really great from a research point of view as well. There's loads of other tools in TubeBuddy, so probably too many to get into. I have got a whole series on the channel though, all about TubeBuddy specifically and all of the different things it can do. So yeah, that is that. Let me just go back to the and by the way, I should say, if we go up to their plans, there is the Pro plan and there's the Legend plan. I was on the original plan. They had different pricing tiers originally, but I was on that for some time, and there was just it was the find and replace, I think, was what I wanted to test out, and I upgraded to the Legend plan to get that. And it was, in my case, I wanted to update all of my existing videos, and I had 150 at that point, I think, and put all of my Amazon links into the description. And it would have taken me ages to go through and do that manually. And so I ended up just using the Legend feature of the find and replace to then go and do that retrospectively in all my videos. And it was just one of these things where, it turned out that generated more affiliate commission from Amazon by having those links in there than this cost. So it was one of those things that kind of paid for itself. And it's been a bit of a no-brainer ever since. The other thing that you get with TubeBuddy, by the way, when you are uploading videos, is you get these little checks, little check marks for if you've done all of the things. So if you go into uploading, you can see like what you've done, what you haven't done. I'm just trying to find where it is now. If you've put your tags in, the descriptions and things like that. So it just helps you with like being a bit of a coach as you're going through, especially if you're sort of earlier on in your YouTube journey. It's really helpful for that point of view. But then as you get to do more things and your YouTube channel grows, you get more into the swing of how to do the basic stuff, then it's those advanced tools that come more into play there. So yeah, highly recommend TubeBuddy. I've been using it since day one, and I continue to subscribe and pay for it every month, so or every year or whatever it is. So that is a great price though, because I know that I'm paying more than $16.50 for it. So it's a great opportunity to get in. Just coming back to here, then the iPad mini has, so the iPad mini does have magnets for a number of reasons. It's got, as you say, the ability to connect your pencil with a magnet on the side. There are also magnets built into it for like the case and so on. The magnet that I was referring to though is the the phone in particular has a sort of ring inside it, which is this magnetic thing here that this will clip onto, because there's this ring of magnets, but it's also actually for charging. So that wireless charger, not wireless, it is wireless technically in terms of the phone, but there is a wire attached to it. This Ugreen one, for example, so this round thing here is where the phone would attach to charge from that as well. So that was the one that I was talking about, was in terms of magnets, that this wouldn't necessarily fit onto even the new iPad mini because it doesn't have this sort of ring of magnets in it. But definitely check out their other things, because they certainly have got other accessories that may well work for that. There's one other company that I definitely do need to mention, because I just absolutely love their stuff. I do use the Rodecaster Pro 2. I've got the Rodecaster Duo behind me, which is actually my favorite, one of the two, just for its compact form factor. I've just been testing some other mics, so kept the larger one. And there's also the Rodecaster Video, which I've been testing, which is a great product. They have a Black Friday deal. I've got to say, it's a little bit of a confusing one, though. It's not really confusing, but it's not as straightforward as, oh, there's 40% off or 20% off. The way that one works, if you are in the market for some new Rode hardware, is it's 20% off, but they have to explain how it works, which is you purchase an eligible Rode product from a participating dealer during the Cyber Weekend, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then you go and register that at the Rode warranty portal, and then you can get that discount code that you then apply in the Rode brand store anytime through to, I guess, January 15th or something like that. So it's a bit of a different way around. You're basically getting 20% off a future purchase. So treat your future self. A different slant on the whole Black Friday thing. But if you are looking for a bit of Rode gear, this is a great way to do it if you're looking to add something to your setup. One thing I will say is, it is easy to be drawn into all of these different offers and all of these different things. It is always good to be mindful of, what is actually going to add value. Also, the temptation is often to, look, what's the latest camera, for example? The Sony ZV-E10 is what I use. There is now a Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, or whatever they call it, a second version. And the temptation would be that if you're looking for something on special offer, well, let's go for the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, because that's the latest one. Well, the fact of the matter is, the ZV-E10 is still perfectly fine. If you want to record in HD or 4K and stream in HD and 4K, then, are you going to get that much of an improved output from going with the absolute latest model? So the only thing I'm saying here is, don't necessarily feel like you've got to get the absolute latest and greatest. It may well be that there's a Black Friday deal on the previous model. Another example of that, we were talking about docks earlier on. Terry was asking about what hub that I use, or what dock I use. Another one would be the hub. And if you go and have a look at, for example, on Amazon at the CalDigit T Element hub is the one that I use. That one I would recommend. But there's also the CalDigit dock. So let's look at this CalDigit TS3 and TS4. And what I would say about that is, if you have a look at this, so this is a dock because it includes things like a card reader. You've got a monitor connection on the back, and this one is the TS3 and this one is the TS4. Now, the difference between them is this is Thunderbolt 4, whereas the TS3 is Thunderbolt 3. However, depending on what you're doing with it, it might well be that you don't necessarily need the TS4, because Thunderbolt 4, yes, technically it's higher speed data transfer. But if you're not really using it for data transfer, if what you've got plugged in is a monitor, a couple of Stream Decks, and a couple of other peripherals, then really it might not be something where speed is absolutely of the utmost importance. And so here you can see that the TS4 is $379, whereas the TS3, of course, it's not showing a price now that I want to show it to you, but is I think it's about $100 less. And so if there is Black Friday deals on both of them, then the wise thing might be to say, well, let's just go with the TS3 because it's more than adequate for your needs potentially. So I only just mentioned that in passing that it's easy to get carried away with the Black Friday deals, but we might not actually be needing the latest and greatest as well. So there might be a further opportunity for savings. Another thing that I haven't got a particular pick on this as such, but if you are doing streaming or recording, one of the things that can add a significant amount of can be a significant addition to your productivity, shall we say, would be an additional monitor. I do see people all the time where they're working on things and they're constantly flicking back and forth between different windows on the screen, trying to, the main thing, even just from a work context, the thing that you're working on, then you've got something else, some other reference material, and all of that flicking backwards and forwards is really sort of chipping away at your overall concentration, effectively, and therefore productivity. So if you are, as I say, doing Zoom calls where you're doing presentations using Ecamm and Keynote and all of these kind of things, or if it's just from a work perspective, potentially looking to add an additional monitor could be something that could add a real, add real value to your setup. So that would be another thing to consider if you haven't already. I know that there are some people who just only use one monitor all the time, but if you've never used additional monitors, it is a bit of a game changer. So that would be a final little pick there. So with that said, that is about a wrap of the things that I was going to cover. I was on the stream show on the Ecamm channel this last Monday or Sunday in US time, and I'm going to be back again on this Sunday or this Monday, as well as we continue talking with DJ Strick about about Black Friday deals and things like that are on. Let's have a look. So Terry's asking, are you familiar with any use cases where you use a monitor as a backdrop to display things to your audience? I mean, that is a really great use case. Yeah, you certainly can have a screen behind you that's showing things. I don't personally do that. I tend to just go with the whole immersive presentation style. That is something that I talk about, where I bring my video into Keynote and then I'm doing sort of animations and things like that in Keynote, and so therefore I'm bringing everything up on the screen that I want people to see in that sense. Having a monitor behind, though, is a great use case. A way to add something in that adds something a little bit different. I know Martin McKenna in the Ecamm community, and also a member of the Digital Stage Academy as well. He's got a monitor which is just kind of off just to the side a little bit, and he's actually got it in vertical format, which means it's a great way of having content that's kind of just behind him, but it's also not taking up. Obviously, if it was a horizontal monitor, it would be really encroaching into his screen real estate. But having it vertically, it means that if he's off to the side, then having like a big strip of a monitor, over here, works really well. So it certainly can work as a method of presenting stuff on screen as well. So yeah, that could certainly work. So yeah, I was just thinking about mounting it then. I was just thinking if there was an interesting mounting solution, because actually my primary monitor here is, if I just sort of pull back, it's a 43-inch monitor from Philips. And because it came with legs, obviously, so it could technically sit on the desk, but I was absolutely paranoid about just knocking it off, because I can be a little bit clumsy at times. So actually, this entire monitor is on a wheeled sort of, TV stand that you see. So it's on a wheeled TV stand, so I can adjust the height of it, but it's not actually fixed to the desk. So the other thing about that is it means that if and before, my camera, by the way, used to be mounted on the top of this a long time ago. Now I've mounted it over to the side. But the other reason to have the monitor as a wheeled thing like that was it meant that it wasn't physically attached to the desk. So therefore, if I was, if I bumped the desk or something, it didn't make the camera wobble, because it was completely separate. But I digress slightly. I had a thought in my head, and it went out in terms of something to do with mounting, where you were talking about having a display as a backdrop. There we go. There's the other obvious decoration point of view there as well. And Rich in the Zoom backstage is saying that I had an old iMac on my set, and it shows a fish tank. That's the other way of using it is to show either show art or things like that. DJ Strick on the stream show, he's got quite a large TV that ends up being an actual background as opposed to displaying information. It's actually just showing the background. Showing some sort of background image like that. And let's have a look. Michael is, put that in the wrong place. Let me go back to this scene. Hey, Michelle, sorry. how do you organize the different Ugreen cables as they all as they have all other specs? So generally, depending on what they are, there's some of them that are just charging cables. There are some that are, like, for example, the prompter that I mentioned. This one here is a 20 gigabit per second cable, and it's a 5 meter cable. And I've got the cable for the, I've got two 20 gigabits per second USB-C cables, which are, one is for the camera that's in the prompter, and the other one is for the prompter display itself. And then there's another one in there that is for power. And they are all, they've got this sort of flexible wrap on them at the moment. The other thing that is quite cool is, I don't know if I can show you this really. Let's try this. You can see that the cables, they sort of just disappear down the body of this thing. And this is because this is a zip cable manager. So these are quite cool. I know you're talking specifically about specs as opposed to practical cable management, by the way, but it did just make me think about these. This is like a neoprene strip, basically, with a zip down one side. And so it's great to just be able to wrap around cables and then basically just zip them up. So I've used that with this this stand that I've got for the prompters on this sort of wheeled unit here. So that just basically keeps all the cables wrapped up nicely. The cables that I had coming across the desk into my 3 Stream Decks, that used to be in one of these. But one thing I've done just recently, and I will come back to your question because I realise I'm going completely off the topic here actually. But let's go to the Elgato site, because one of the things I mentioned that I use the Stream Deck Plus to control the Stream Deck XLs and the Stream Deck Pedal in terms of changing the profiles. One of the additions that they came out with relatively recently was, if we go into products, go into Stream Deck, and then go into this, it's this thing. It's the hub. Now this fits into the little wedge-shaped gap in the back of the Stream Deck Plus. And because I'd got 3 of these on my desk, or three Stream Decks on the desk, and I had one of these to just neaten up the cables, so it was just snaking across my desk with 3 cables inside this. What I actually did was I put one of these into the Stream Deck Plus, and then I bought from Ugreen some short cables that were like either 20 centimeters or 30 centimeters, I can't remember exactly, about a foot long. And so basically there's one cable that goes from this into my CalDigit Element Hub, and then there are 2 USB sockets on the back of this that I then just connect to my other Stream Deck. So it means that there's one cable comes to this, and then this one feeds the other 2 Stream Decks that are on the desk. But a digression from, I think, your question, which was, how do you organize the different Ugreen cables? I always try and get things that I've got the spec to do at least 5 gigabits of 5 gigabit per second of data. The 20 gigabits for the prompter was just the minimum that was required for that. But if you get the ones that can do the data as well, then it means that they'll work as charging cables. So there's some that I've got in my desk, I guess. My bag, that are just purely charging. But it is just a case of making sure that you've got something that's going to work for the majority of your different applications. So yeah, I don't know if that does answer the question. I've not got any specific methodology. I just try and get things that will work for everything, basically, so that I know that it is going to work. Because there's nothing worse than pulling out a cable, thinking that you're going to be able to power something, and then ultimately it's just a charging cable and can't handle the data. So yeah. I know you recommended the CalDigit Element for a hub, but do you have a particular recommendation for a dock? Oh yeah, so I do indeed. There's a couple of things to just think about with this. First of all, there's the ones that I mentioned there, which was the CalDigit TS3 and the CalDigit TS4. So if I just get the link for that, that is a dock, also CalDigit. The thing to look for with the docks and the hubs, by the way, is like the power of the power of them, essentially. But then, as in the, let me step back a minute. The actual physical electrical power, they'll have a power brick, how many watts of power. So this is 98. So if you've got something that sometimes you'll see some, but they've got a really low power supply. And so that then is not going to be sufficient to power all the peripherals that you've got plugged into it, potentially. So this is the CalDigit series, though. This isn't the one that I use, though, although, these are great. The reason why I'm using something different, because I'm using the Wavelink, let's just type Wavelink dock. Oh, it's just clicked out on me. wavelength dock. Oh, it's done it again. Let me try and do that a little bit more efficiently. Here we go. There we go. So I use this one here. And the reason why I use this is because there is a limit to the number of monitors that you can have plugged into a Mac, and I I wanted to have more monitors plugged in. And so this one can plug in an extra 2 monitors. Each one can be either HDMI or DisplayPort, but essentially you're choosing one of those for each. So you can plug in an extra 2 monitors. So this is actually the one that I use, and this is how I have got a, and it's Wavelink. This is how I've got a, where's my phone gone? I've got my MacBook Pro there, and that one can technically drive 2 external monitors. One of them is coming out over HDMI, and that's just direct into the monitor. And then there is another one which is going through an adapter from USB-C to HDMI. And so that is driving basically 2 of these monitors. It's driving this one, and it's driving the teleprompter monitor directly from the computer. But then I wanted to have extra monitors. So I've got a monitor here, and I've got an extra vertical monitor over there. So these 2 monitors are actually being driven from the Wavelink, and that has display link technology, which means that it can power additional monitors. And display link is, by the way, what's used to power the Elgato prompter. So the Elgato prompter is technically a 3rd monitor. So in effect, there's 6 monitors being powered from here. The inbuilt one, these 2 here, this one, the one on the side, and the Elgato monitor as well. So it means that although technically I should only be able to drive the built-in display and 2 external monitors, because the Wavelink dock has this technology built in called Display Link, it means it can basically give you that additional monitor over and above what would ordinarily be allowed. And with the Kel Digit, for example, I don't think that has that built in. And so what that means is, because if it did, it would have it actually displayed on it. So although the Kel Digit technically has, a display port on the back, which means that it can power an extra monitor, it's only going to be within the limits of your computer. So I mentioned there that, like in my laptop, I've got an external monitor plugged in to the HDMI, and then I've got one going through a USB adapter. Well, that one I could power from here, but it's not going to give you additional monitors if you're already up to your limit. And so that's why I'm using this Wavelink. By the way, I've had this one for I guess 3 years. So there's probably others available. And I know there's some that you can get with like 4 monitors, for example. So this one I think is 3. This one here. So this would be if you want to have your existing number of monitors and then a further 4 monitors, then you could get something like this. Another company that makes these similar sorts of things that have got this display link technology is Pluggable. So if you go to Pluggable, this also, you can see it's got that display link icon. That's the thing you want to look for. If you're going to go above the existing limit, you want to look for display link. And so this one has got 4 additional monitors as well. So that would be another option if you want those additional monitors. The things we do to be able to drive all this stuff. It's so often the case that when you start getting into doing these things, there is this talk of GAS, the gear acquisition syndrome, where there always seems to be something new to buy and install. I will say that it often feels like, and I remember somebody once saying in the Academy sessions where they said, when does it ever end? Because it felt like they were just constantly buying this thing and that thing and this thing and that thing to sort of build out what they would have thought of as their sort of ideal setup. And I think that part of that feeling of there always seems to be one more thing to buy is because you do need things like the docks to then, you buy an additional monitor and then you need the dock to be able to power it, or you add a prompter in and then you need something else. And maybe it's even like a little connector or fitting or something like that. But it does get to a point where that all plateaus and suddenly, you might well upgrade a monitor, but you've already got all of the stuff to power it. So there is a potential end in sight for it if you're at that stage. Well, with that said, if there are no further questions or comments or anything like that, feel free, if you are watching the replay, to drop those into the chat. Feel free to also check out the link to join the Discord as well, which you'll find down below this video as well. I hope you have some great time over the holiday season and find some good Black Friday deals. Thanks so much for watching. I will leave you if I can go to my intro. Now, do you know what? Something before a little digression. I had some weird thing happen with Ecamm just the other day where I somewhat screwed up some of my profiles. And one of the things it looks like I've screwed up is my whole outro scene. So let me just try and